What's going on, everyone? Kurt Widener here in the Team Animal Training Compound, and today I'm doing a full product review of the Rep Fitness AB 5000 bench, fully adjustable incline bench. So I've been waiting a long time to get this bad boy, and it finally was available in red, so I pulled the trigger. Um, so let me kind of back up and talk a little bit about, what the reason was that I wanted this bench. Going back over a year, back to March of 2020, I just had surgery. The whole coronavirus thing started to hit, and kind of saw the writing on the wall and realized, hey, gyms are probably going to shut down for a while, so we better make sure we have some equipment. So I ran down to, I couldn't even work out. I was 2 weeks out of surgery, and I was like, I'm gonna go get some equipment. So I ran down to North Carolina and bought what I could get, and I ended up buying one of the things I got was a adjustable incline Cybex bench that I guess came from Planet Fitness. It looks like the Purple People Eater, and so that was kind of our bench that served our purpose of an incline bench. It's a very good, solid bench, and we made good use of it for a while. Then a little bit later, as I started acquiring more equipment, I got a hammer strength decline bench that was it's a very mild decline, non-adjustable. I used it for certain things like pullovers and skull crushers, really liked it. And then when I put in one of my big orders with Rep Fitness, I got I think this is the FB 5000 bench that Romy's making really good use of right now. So it's great for a lot of things, including, naps for your dog. So anyway, what I really wanted was a bench that could basically replace at least two or all of the existing benches that I had and functionally serve the purpose of each of those things. I needed to be able to do every exercise that I did on those, and I wanted to be able to sell at least two of those benches. So they're not, I still have them. They're not in here right now. They're in my other building. But for space efficiency alone, there's not a ton of space in the dumbbell area. So having three benches here was a little bit, cumbersome. So I wanted to reduce it to at least two. So, I looked at a lot of different benches. I spent a lot of time on the decision. I did look at, Rogue's model. I looked at Titan. I looked at GetRx, a few other ones. But I had pretty much, decided that I wanted the Rep Fitness AB 5000. I was going to wait for it. So let's talk a little bit about some of the features of this bench, and then I'll get into some of the specifics on the exercises that I specifically want to use it for. So first of all, the bench itself weighs 125 pounds. This is a very sturdy, solid bench, and that's important. I didn't want something that was flimsy or that wasn't solid. You can see I can't even really shake this. Okay, I mean it's pretty heavy duty. The actual bench pad itself is 12 inches, so it's not overly narrow. Some incline benches I've been on, where your shoulder blades are almost coming off the side, and you got to keep perfect balance in the middle. This adjusts from all the way from a flat position up to 90 degrees. Okay, so that's obviously flat. It has 15-degree increments, and it goes all the way up to 90. Okay, now this part of the bench goes from negative 15 to 45. Okay, so this can go all the way down to negative 15 or flat. Now, what sets this bench apart, okay, the fact they call it a zero gap bench, is there's a lever here, and this comes all the way forward to close the gap, and then you can screw that in. So it doesn't matter what angle you put this at. Okay, let's say I want to, oops, wrong one. Okay, if I want to use it there at that angle, close the gap, and then you can lock that in. All right, so it has all those different degrees of increments. You pretty much use it for almost any purpose. One feature that I really like, which is not just true of this bench, but Rep benches in general, if you look at this material, okay, and this is true of both this bench and the the AB5000. This is a very grippy material, and that's important because if you're doing incline presses, you don't want a material like a regular vinyl that you can slide on. You know, in the summer months, it can get really hot in here. You can sweat a lot, and if the bench gets kind of a little bit of moisture on it, and you're sitting there trying to push 100-pound dumbbells, and you end up moving, that's not really optimal. So it's nice to have a material that the pad's made of that actually grips you and holds you in place. So I like that. Another thing that was really important, in order for me to have a bench that could replace functionally two of the other benches I had, I needed to have the ability to add a leg attachment. So, you know, this is a feature of the AB5000. Again, you have a lever on the side, and there's a hole there that lines up with it, marks it, and then you can screw that in. So this enables you to do incline sit-ups in addition to a lot of other things, which I'll show here in a minute. So that was important. The last thing also is the color customization. As you can see, if you look around the gym, I'm going with a red-black theme here on as many pieces of equipment as I can. So again, that's why I wanted to wait till it was available in red, and it looks really sharp, but they have a lot of other colors. So if you're big on your colors for your gym and you want a specific color, another reason to go with this bench, because other companies, their models, some of them are just available in black. Okay, so those are some of the basic features of the gym. So let's talk for a minute about excuse me, some of the specific exercises that I was planning to use this for, and actually I've now had the opportunity to use on each individual exercise. So the first one would just be, I'll go ahead and take this off for a minute. The first one would just be like an incline dumbbell press or fly. Okay. So, as far as the stability of the bench, the feel of the pad and everything, it's great. One of the few criticisms I have of this bench, if you look at this pad here, the seat portion of it, this pad is enormous. Okay, not only is it way longer than it needs to be, but it's actually wider. So I'm by no means a small person. I'm not the biggest person in the world. I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm about 5'11", a little over 200. But when you look at this, where this lines up, in order to get around it, not only do I have to kind of elevate myself, but I have to get my legs around it, and it's actually pushing my legs out here. It really needs to be narrower because you actually feel it pushing into your legs at the bottom. And the other thing, when you start, you know, Thursday morning I was trying to do heavy dumbbell presses, and I was using the hundreds, and it got awkward because I had to actually pull myself over this to get into place. And what I ended up doing was I had a platform that's like that high, and I put it here so I could be standing higher, and it was easier for me to actually get myself into position. But really, I think that the size of this pad, on the seat pad here, is overkill. It would have been better if it was probably at least 2 inches shorter here and a little bit narrower. Because like I said, it was actually hard for me to keep my feet grounded. If you're doing a press, you want to be able to drive your legs into the ground, and when you start getting heavier, this is so wide and this thing is so tall here that it's hard to get in this position and really be able to push off the ground. So one of the few criticisms I have on that. The next thing functionally would be an overhead dumbbell press. Okay, and so for this, you know, depending on your preference, that's 60 degrees there, and today I was going up to 75, and you can see depending on sorry, pull this out first, pull that out first, and then bring this and then you can adjust the gap to wherever you want it to be. Obviously, there's no gap there. So no issues really with that. The size of the seat pad really didn't affect the overheads the way it does on the incline, because it's easier. Obviously, this lowers this a lot, so you can just kind of fall into place and do your overhead presses. So no issues there. Another exercise that I really like to do, okay, is incline sit-ups, and I like to do them with a plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this at 45 degrees, and we're going to throw the handy dandy leg attachment on here. Okay, put that in here, click in, lock that in. Let me grab my plate real quick. I didn't have that ready. So, you know, this is where having a very heavy, stable bench is important, because if I'm bringing my legs all the way up here, I don't want something that's going to tip over. And there was no issues with that. Okay, so it's a pretty decent incline for a sit-up. And if I do it with a plate, and obviously, if you want to get really gung-ho, then you can take it up to 60 degrees. I haven't tried that yet. I've used it a couple of times for incline sit-ups, but it does the job without a problem. The only thing that I would say that I think would be an added benefit, a lot of incline sit-up benches like that, they have a handle right up here. It's kind of like a horn, and you can grab it and pull yourself up. So for getting yourself into position and out of position, it makes it a lot easier, you know, if you had something to grab here. Not a big deal. It's definitely not a deal breaker at all, but it's something that I think would be a nice feature to add on the leg attachment. The other place that could come into play is if you're doing, you know, leg raises like this, or you're doing pikes. If you had something to hold on instead of the handles, or instead of the rollers on the outside, it would be marginally better. I don't think it's a huge deal. It just could be a nice added feature. All right, so one of the next exercises that I wanted to be able to do with this, that I had used my hammer strength bench for, was a dumbbell pullover. And one of the issues is that with that bench, the length of this only came to about my head, and the bench was much lower to the floor. So I can simply place the dumbbell on the floor like that, reach back and grab it. But as you can see with this bench is a lot longer, and I can barely even reach that, much less I'm not going to be able to grab a 100-pound dumbbell from that position. So, simple workaround to that was that I took this bench that I built, which is, I think, about 11.5 inches, and I put it right there behind the bench, and then it's pretty much perfect because it's just below the level of the bench. I can reach back easily from a starting position, grab the dumbbell, okay, and I can do pullovers in this position. So I can perfectly achieve what I want to do with that exercise. No issues. Works great. Okay. Lastly, again, what I used that hammer strength bench for was decline skull crushers. I like doing decline skull crushers. I like the feel at that angle, but also one of the benefits is that I don't need a spotter. I don't need somebody to hand me the weight. So on the other bench, again, I could reach back and I could put a 25-pound on each side of the curl bar. and it was right there on the floor. Problem is, even if I use the tall bumper plates, I can't reach back to get that. So I played around with different things, and then what I came up with as the best solution is to actually use the rack. And so I can just pull this over here, okay? And you can put it wherever you need to do. And this actually fits in the rack. And I may end up getting a rackable curl bar for that reason, so that I can adjust the weight in between sets. But you can see, I can now easily grab this. I can do my skull crushers, and then I can just rack it when I'm done. So, this bench has successfully achieved everything that I wanted to. Oh yeah, actually there's one more movement that I forgot about. And this is just kind of a bonus. So got that. Take it up to 30 degrees. All right, close the gap, tighten it. And for targeting rear delts, an incline row on here where you're coming out like that. And in this case, the big pad on the bottom is actually kind of nice because you can get, most of your lower limb down there to kind of hold you in place. So that actually works really well. So overall, I'm very happy with the bench. It's very well built, very stable. Like I said, really my only criticism at all would just be the size of this pad, but it's not something that you can't work around. I have a big platform over there that I put there, and that kind of was a little bit of a workaround for that. Price point, the price of this bench right now is $599.99, so $600. Free shipping. That does not include the leg attachment. The leg attachment is $110, also free shipping. So I think as far as bang for the buck, it's about as good as you're gonna do. If you compare that to like Rogue, Rogue's equivalent bench is probably with shipping and handling going to cost you around $1,200. It does not have the zero gap. All right, it does not have color customization, so it's a lot more expensive, and I don't think it's arguably better. I haven't actually used their bench. I did look at Titan, and one of the things I noticed, there's two things about Titan. Titan does not have this material. It looks like a smooth material, so I had my concerns about that. And after studying the bench for a little bit, even though it looked like a good deal because it's like a $500 bench, so there's a pretty big difference in price, and it actually comes with the ab attachment. However, this does not adjust to the same degree. I don't know how far down it goes. It may go to -15, but I don't think it goes up to 45 degrees. And one of the reasons that you want that to come up to 45 degrees is that if you are doing heavy presses, you need to get some leverage here, so you need something to push back. If this thing's angled forward too much, if you're pushing a bunch of weight, your ass can just scoot right off the bench. You start sliding up and forward. So you want enough of an angle on this part of the pad that it kind of keeps your hips in place when you're pressing. So that was something I'm pretty sure when I looked at the Titan, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't go up high enough. Like I said, I looked at some other benches, but I decided on this one. And overall, I'm happy with my purchase. So it's a good job, Rep Fitness. It's definitely a good bench. I encourage everybody else to look into this one. Hope you guys enjoyed the review and you find this useful. If you have any questions or comments, place them below. Remember to like and subscribe. Until next time, have a great week, everyone.